Thank you so much for joining me for today's webinar on 2020. Let's reboot this year. We're about halfway through, and I don't know about you, but I am ready for a fresh new start for the rest of the year. I'm going to talk about a couple of things we could do, simple lifestyle suggestions, and some of my favorite dietary supplements that could also support this time that we're in. So here we go. My name is Julie Dennis Fox, and I will be today's trainer, educator on 2020. And what a year it has been. You know, we started the year with the pandemic, with Corona. Our lives changed seemingly overnight. Truly, truly astounding. And I'm still trying to get my grounding about what is this all about, because I don't really know. The stay-at-home orders, the masks that we now wear. We're starting to reemerge and go back into the stores and out into the world, but it's a new world. So it has been very, very stressful, especially for those that are essential workers. I just want to give a shout out to everybody from retail to nurses, doctors, first responders. I tip my hat to you and thank you very much for your service out there in the world where many of us were staying at home. And now, most recently, on top of the international pandemic, is an international movement to evolve and look at our perspectives and attitudes around race relations. And therefore, of course, we're seeing a lot of upheaval and evolution in that regard and protests. I know in our backyard here in Los Angeles, where we are right now, there was protesting and also riots. They were two separate groups. So again, stressful. So we do what we can. And I know one of the things that I could do and I consistently do, and I'm very passionate about doing, is giving back to my community by producing a quality product, Canna Joint Relief. On that note, although this is not a Canna Joint Relief training, I certainly am able to, for those who are here with us today, offer a complimentary Canna Joint Relief for attending. So if you would like that sample, please feel free to send an email to this customer service at cannajointrelief.com. Again, it's the least I could do during these turbulent times. What I can't do is to treat, cure, or mitigate disease. I'm not a practitioner. I'm just relaying information here today, information that's been useful for me through the decades now. I started working in the natural products industry when I was 15 years old. So it certainly has been decades of dedication, but I'm not a practitioner. I always suggest working with a qualified healthcare practitioner if you are going to make changes to your health protocol. But back to 2020, this is our nervous system, and this is our nervous system in 2020. And it again has been stretched and stressed, sometimes to capacity. And what that has meant for a lot of us is we get triggered into this fight or flight syndrome, and a lot happens within our bodies when we are in that state for too long. It's very, very challenging. I know for me, emotionally, physically, and sometimes even spiritually, but certainly to remain in that state like we have for 2020 so far is challenging to our body and our minds and our ability to handle stress. And I know for me that has meant acting out in certain ways and making questionable decisions. Nothing too tragic or too extreme, but for me, those questionable decisions have been suddenly discovering the Instacart and things like Grubhub and DoorDash, and how fantastic it is just to have a nice comfort meal delivered to your door a little too often, perhaps, because we were staying at home, we were sheltering at home. And then as we started to reemerge, not only do we have to deal with all the heavy foods we had just eaten, but now as we start to reemerge into the world, we discover SK Donuts on the corner here, about a half a block away, and the ever famous cronut. So it's time to get a handle. Yes, it's been fun, it's been fabulous, the extra wine, the heavy foods, but it's time to get a handle. And I'm not here to relay any rocket science. It's quite contrary to that, in fact. It's as simple as the more good things we do, the more good thoughts we think, the more good foods we eat, the more we will continue to go in that direction. It's fundamentally a law of physics. You're going to go in the direction you're going. So the more and more we incorporate the good stuff, naturally, the bad stuff starts to fade away and become not as attractive. I wish I could just say, oh, here, take this supplement. And no, it's actually doing the work day to day, getting the exercise, eating the healthy foods, hydrating, doing all those things. Now, I know a lot of people, including myself, since I did start in this industry, natural products industry in the 1970s here in Southern California, I've done a lot of the cleanses. People say, well, what about a cleanse after a heavy time like this? And I personally have found benefit. I've done through the decades variety of so-called cleanses and detox, you know, the original master cleanse with cayenne and maple syrup and lemon. Been there, done that, fantastic. I really appreciate it the many times I've done it. I even did a grape cleanse, the juice cleanse, and boxed cleanses, which I've never dabbled in, but you see them in the health food stores. And one of my favorites, the Khichdi cleanse of the Ayurvedic tradition. I like to do this in the cold of winter, kind of a mono diet, as it were. But ultimately, when it comes to health maintenance, these more heroic, quote, detoxes and cleanses, I don't value them as much. I value what I do day to day. And what I do day to day, one of the things I like to do, and I'm reincorporating it now as I reemerge from the Corona first lockdown or stay at home order, is to take care of my liver. The liver is the largest organ of detoxification. Some would say the skin might be that, but the liver is one of the largest organs of detoxification. And it helps us process some of these heavy meals. It does a lot. It does a lot of heavy lifting, this liver of ours. Processes hormones, helps balance those. Enzymes are produced here, and a whole variety of things. And amongst those, as I mentioned, is helping detoxify and cleanse some of these heavier, especially the fattier foods we may have eaten. So I like to take care of my liver. Health maintenance, day to day. I can eat my bitters. Well, bitters, let me backtrack. Bitters, digestive bitters, is going to be one of the healthiest things you can do for your liver. Bitters, it used to be very popular in cultures back in the day, and unfortunately we're seeing more and more bitters appear on shelf, more and more conversation about digestive bitters. We don't have to go to a shelf to get our bitters. We can certainly get our bitters right in our own garden, which is always my first beloved line of defense. So if we have that option, dandelion, the whole plant can be used, but the leaves, particularly the bitter leaves, are beneficial, that bitter action. Dandelion, here's another version where we blow the toughest of seeds off and make a wish. Another bitter that I adore, and it's actually, especially the leaves of the artichoke. You're looking at an artichoke, and it's that center floret that we typically consume. I love those as well, especially artichoke hearts. But it's those bigger leaves surrounding that floret, actually, that will be the most bitter portion of this plant, and can be used and processed in a variety of ways. I like it as a tincture and alcohol, a couple drops before a meal. It helps spark up those digestive juices, the digestive fire, and help process some of those heavier things. Artichoke, very simple, beautiful plant too. I also have digestive bitters that I have purchased at a store, and these are some of my favorites. Right now, I have in my shelf, the one I'm using right now, because it's the most intense bitter that I know, is the Nature Works Swedish bitters. That's as bitter as it gets in a dietary supplement that I have found. Digestive Grape Bitters by Planetary, I adore. It has some Ayurvedic elements in it. And the beautifully crafted Urban Moonshine Digestive Bitters, I love them in large part because they are organic. I'm a fan of certified organic botanicals. Slightly sweeter for my palate when it comes to bitters, but a fantastic product that I adore. You know, again, doesn't have to come from a shelf. Even simple hydration. Let's make sure we're getting enough fluids, enough water to flush through our kidneys. Another one of our organs of detoxification. Let's make sure we're hydrating. Simple stuff. We don't have to go crazy here. Simple life maintenance, health maintenance, a little lemon water in the morning. It's been used by our ancestors throughout hundreds of years for many reasons, in part to have that cleansing action as we burst forth in our day. A little lemon water in the morning, especially if it's warm. Let's talk about sleep for a moment. It's been a little elusive during this time. I know here in the city, there's a lot of sirens that we've been seeing or hearing recently. We're actually also seeing them traverse our street here. A lot of helicopters overhead. The sleep has been a little elusive this first part of 2020, and we know the challenges that arise. In fact, for me, when I'm not getting enough sleep, my decision making becomes a little blurred, especially in that carbohydrates department. One of the things that is happening is that our circadian rhythms, that rhythm that puts us to sleep at night and wakes us up in the morning, that circadian rhythm is being challenged. One of the things that I suggest to help support a healthy circadian rhythm, that healthy balance of when we feel sleepy, we go to sleep, we stay asleep, and then we wake up with the sun. The way to regain that balance which many of us have lost, one way is to make sure we shut out all external light that is coming into our bedroom. And if you cannot do that, wear an eye mask at night so we can produce the chemicals we need, like melatonin, that complete darkness is necessary for production of. Either make your room dark or wear a sleep mask. There's a variety of things we could do to support a restful night's sleep besides regulating light, hormonal balance, stress response, diet, exercise. These all matter to a good night's sleep. And I got some stuff that I love. GABA Calm by Source Naturals under the Serene Science banner. Adore this. It helps calm my nerves. Sleepy Nights and Emotional Ally, both are in my toolkit. Wish Garden, I'm a big fan of. So there are simple lifestyle solutions like getting more darkness in your bedroom and supplementation that can help. Last but not least, let's talk about the adrenal glands. Boy, do we sure put a stress on our adrenals when we are burning the candle at both ends, and or if we're living in the first part of 2020, it's stressful. So that can put a toll on what the traditional Chinese herbalists call the seat of the root of energy, the fundamental source of qi, our kidney adrenal complex. In fact, how do we support this adrenal complex so we could go forward with strength and energy? You know, one of the ways to do it is to get a good night's sleep consistently. I also like to incorporate adaptogens, ashwagandha you see here growing close to the ground in India. These adaptogens like rhodiola, this second photograph, they help us adapt to stress. This third one is eleuthero, and lastly, holy basil. The adaptogens, simply put, help us adapt to stress. Do they work overnight? No, not traditionally. Generally should be taken consistently through time. So check out this category, adaptogens. We have things we could do, simple lifestyle solutions, supplemental support. We don't have to do this alone. I want you to know that if you ever have any questions for me, Julie Dennis Fox, you could reach me through the company website, cannajointrelief.com. You could send a message to customer service at cannajointrelief.com. I'm here to support you. Let me know how best I could do that. And thank you again for joining me here today. I appreciate your time. Babe. Babe.